Then let's look at the Republic is declared September 22, 1792. So following the arrest of King Louis and Marie Antoinette, the Legislative Assembly disbanded, replaced itself with a new political body named National Convention. So the National Convention, that is the Legislative Assembly, was set up, elected by universal male suffrage, that is, all male that were eligible to vote, to provide a new constitution after the deposition of the king. So it meant that the king now was arrested, he was deposed from his position. So next, it declared France a republic, meaning the abolition of the monarchy. So with the king in custody, no more monarchy, it is a republic, the government of the people. So due to this declaration, what remained was to decide the fate of King Louis. So two opposing groups, the Girondins and the Mountain, were fully at dispute over this. So both groups came from the same political club, that is the Jacobins. So the Girondins were moderate and wanted the king to be exempted from execution, while the Mountain were radical, argued that the king should be executed in order to assure the revolution's success. So the Mountain were successful that the king be killed or be executed. Now there were the French Revolutionary Wars. So the French Revolutionary Wars were a series of major conflicts fought between the French Republic government and several European monarchies from 1792 to 1802. So in April 1792, the Legislative Assembly, that is France's government body or governing body, declared war on Austria. So they were worried that Austria would attempt to reinstate King Louis on the throne and felt that they had to act to defend their new republic. So immediately, France then attacked Austria to say these ones, they might come and defeat us to replace, to put back the king into his position. So monarchs throughout Europe were concerned about the events that had taken place in France. So in an attempt to prevent the second spread of the revolutionary ideas or to their countries, that is, Austria and Prussia threatened war on France on July 25. So on 27th August 1791, Leopold II of the Holy Roman Empire, Austria, and again Frederick William II of Prussia and Louis number 16's brother-in-law, that is Charles Philippe, they issued a declaration of the Pillinids. So what was that declaration that was made by those different countries? Number one, Louis number 16 to be set free. Number two, the National Assembly to be disbanded. They threatened to invade France if their requests were ignored. So soldiers were sent from Great Britain, Netherlands, Spain, Sardinia, and formed an alliance known as the First Coalition to fight against the revolutionaries in France. So on 25th July, Austria and Prussia issued a warning of war known as the Brunswick Manifesto, which reached Paris on 28th July. So Brunswick Manifesto promised that if the royalty is hurt, then the French civilians will be hurt too in the invasion. So you see, to it, there was a warning there to say, if you harm the king there, the civilians of France, they are going to feel it again. So the Jacobin leaders took extreme steps to meet the new danger. A levy en masse, which literally means mass uprising, was decreed by National Convention on August 23, 1793. So this was a policy of mass national conscription of the French citizens for the service in the Revolutionary War. So they recruited many people in the revolutionary military to say, now this is mass rising. We are defending our country. So they drafted into the army 300,000 men in February 1793. Women asked for the right to form regiments to defend the country. By 1794, the number of recruits had reached 800,000. So look at that. Soldiers, 800,000, to say the whole nation now has become a military state. Now, on 20th September 1792, Prussian and French artillery opened fire in a long-range duel. Then the Allied Austrian and Prussian forces under Charles William Ferdinand, Duke of Brunswick, quickly crossed the frontier and began to march to Paris. The war had devastating effects on France. Food shortages, poverty ran rampant throughout France, threatening to tear the country apart. So just as it looked like the armies of Prussia and Austria would defeat France, the French armies pulled off a stunning victory at Valmy, a city less than 100 miles away from Paris. So this victory boosted the morale of French troops and turned the tide of the war. So while Germany or Prussia and Austria were like winning, then the things changed, whereby Prussia, the French revolutionaries now, they fought back gallantly. Then there was the execution of King Louis number 16. So in November 1793, the revolutionaries discovered evidence in Tuileries Palace that Louis had been in contact with the emigres. So therefore, Louis was seen as conspiring with the enemies of the Republic. Consequently, Louis number 16 was tried and convicted of treason in December. So he was executed on 21st January 1793 using the guillotine, a machine adopted by the revolutionaries for beheading or cutting off the head of the condemned people. So we said that he was killed because he was in contact with the emigres. So when we say the emigres, they were the nobles or others who left France during the peasant uprising and hoped to come back to restore the old system. So those were called the emigres. So the king was believed to be in contact with those, so he was killed for that. Revolt in Vendée. Revolts in Vendée. So Vendée, which was Western France, was the epicenter of the largest counter-revolutionary uprising of the French Revolution. So people in the area of Vendée did not like the revolutionary government in Paris and its ideas because of the number of reasons. Number one, national government attacks on the church, that is through the civil constitution of the clergy of 1790. And also the other reason was the rising land taxes put in place in 1793, and also conscription into the French army, the compulsory recruitment into the army. They did not like that. And also execution of King Louis, they did not like again. So in March 1793, the people of Vendée, they took up arms against the National Convention in a revolt. So the Civil War lasted until 1796. So hundreds of thousands of people from Vendée were killed by the revolutionary Amen. And now let us look at the reign of terror. We are looking at the events in the French Revolution. The reign of terror in 1793, 1794. The reign of terror refers to a bloody period of French Revolution during which the government executed thousands of opponents and others at the guillotine. So during this period, the Republican government was temporarily suspended and power was concentrated in the hands of a small group of the revolutionaries called the Jacobins. So on April 6, 1793, then the National Convention set up a committee of public safety, a kind of secret police to protect the republic. So that's what took place there then. So the Committee of Public Safety had the following duties that was set up. Number one, issuing the decrees to say, the commands to say, now the country is doing this, now like this, like that. So there was that Committee of Public Safety. Issuing appointment and dismissal of officials, and also control of government departments. Thus, through its leaders, George Danton of Cordeliers Political Club from April to July, and later dominated by the Maximilien Robespierre of Jacobin. So the committee was successful in containing both domestic and foreign threats. That is this Committee of Public Safety. It enabled to contain all the threats that could come from outside. However, with evidence of rebellion across France, the National Convention and the Committee of Public Safety, led by Maximilien Robespierre of the radical group called Jacobin Club, they set in motion an effort that came to be known as the Reign of Terror. So later on, they changed the running of the things all of a sudden, and they set up a group that was called the Reign of Terror. So why did the government institute that reign of terror? Number one, it was the revolution from the people perceived to be against the revolution. To protect the revolution from the people perceived to be against the revolution, that is, enemies of the revolution. Number two, to protect the country from foreign invaders. So the convention silenced the press and began to arrest leading extremists. So they went on to suppress and close popular women clubs in the country on October 16th, 1793. And on October 16th, 1793, Marie Antoinette was found guilty of treason by revolutionary tribunal and was executed. Olympe de Gouges was also guillotined, that is, was also killed. So we see even women, they were not exempted during this reign of terror. These Marie and Olympe, they were leading women who were also who took the reading law to read women in the revolutionaries. But later on, we are saying that they were found to be guilty and they were executed. The Commune, under the leadership of Jacques Hilbert, attempted to wipe out Christianity in France by promoting the cult of reason. They did a number of things like Notre Dame Cathedral, the statue of Virgin Mary in Notre Dame Cathedral. Notre Dame Cathedral, the statue of Mary was removed and replaced by opera dancer as goddess of liberty. You see that they changed the statues there. And Christian calendar was not spared. September 22 became the beginning of the French calendar. The new calendar had no Sundays and had a 10-day week instead of 7. Look at that. And Danton and Maximilien opposed this policy of de-Christianization. So together they plotted against the Commune, and in March 1794, Herbert and his supporters were arrested and guillotined. That is, they were killed again. Then the two disagreed on the policy of terror. Danton preferred an end to the policy. However, Robespierre thought Danton was trying to prevent the spread of the revolution outside France. So he therefore had Danton also guillotined. So you see to it that during the revolution, things were really not good. People were just doubting for each other. They were suspicious of each other, and they could even unite today and tomorrow kill each other. So on 5th April 1794, we see to it that Danton was also killed. Therefore, Robespierre gained control of the Commune and the Committee of the Public Safety. Eventually, he became a dictator with power to arrest and drag anyone to the guillotine. So the reign of terror was extended to provinces where representatives of the committee moved about with portable guillotines or through drowning, known as vertical deportations. So thousands of people perished within 2 months of Robespierre's rule. So in Paris alone, at least 26 people were being executed per day. So almost 17,000 people were killed by official executions during the reign of terror. So Robespierre was the one who killed so many people. So we are seeing to it that then that reign of terror spread even into the rural areas, whereby anyone against or opposing, sometimes they were the rope was tied around the neck and they were put on the river or on the lake to drown there. So it was now the turn of Robespierre to be arrested. So he tried to commit suicide in order to escape the guillotine, but was prevented. So the Revolutionary Tribunal condemned him, and he too was sent to death by guillotine on 28th July 1794. So this reaction against Robespierre is called Thermidorian reaction. So we see to it that even the dictator himself, at the end, he was also killed himself. So when we talk of revolutionary, it is something not in the hands of someone. So some people, they feel like when we change things, now I'll be the dictator. Be very careful. It is very dangerous on that way. When you have seen a wave of revolutionary changing things and now you become the sole leader, that one is bad, whereby also that revolution that you read sometime, it is also going to turn against you and you are going to feel it at the end. So we see there was the Thermidorian reaction against Robespierre. So the Thermidorian reaction was a parliamentary revolt initiated on 9 Thermidor. That is year 2, that is July 27, 1794, which led to the fall of Robespierre and the collapse of the reign of terror. So Thermidorians formed a coup d'etat against Maximilien Robespierre, who was executed with his supporters. So Thermidor was the 11th month in the French calendar, or the French Republican calendar. So the month was named after the Greek word thermos, which means heat. So it started on July 19th or 20th. So that is Thermidor. That is the 11th month of the French calendar. Remember, we said September was regarded as the first month. So July 11th, and the 12th month was August. The government of the Directory, 1795 to 1799. So after the fall of Robespierre, the policy of terror was abandoned. So the National Convention adopted a new constitution under which France would be governed by the Directorate of 5. So it also set up 2 House legislators consisting of the following. That is the lower house called the Council of 500 representatives, which made the law proposals, and the upper house called the Council of Elders, a total of 250 senators, which accepted or rejected the proposal. So that's how they formed the government of the Directorate. So members of the 2 houses were chosen by electors. There were only 30,000 individuals eligible because of the qualification conditions electors had to satisfy. For example, they had to be owners or renters of property worth a certain amount of taxpayers. The day-to-day government activities were carried by these or one of the 5 individuals. So this was the executive committee which assumed leadership of a country with the support of the legislator. So each of the 5 was to retire each year with successor elected through the legislator. So after 5 years, one has to retire like that. So those 5 directors were there to run the executive. The government led by the directorate was faced with a number of challenges. A number of challenges were there. For example, corruption, continuing economic challenges, political enemies, especially the royalists and the radicals. So the royalists, they wanted to bring back the monarchy, which they believed offered better leadership, while radicals were unhappy towards the turn of the moderation. They both planned against the government. So the survival of the directorate led the government, or the directorate-led government relied on military. So this had its own challenges, such as in 1799, a coup d'etat, that is a military takeover, occurred. A popular military general by the name Napoleon Bonaparte overthrew the government. So we see to it Napoleon overthrew the government, because we are saying that government that was led by the directorates, it was depending on the military. So with that then, one of the army generals, then he organized the coup d'etat to take over the government. That was Napoleon Bonaparte.
Simutaya nthawi yanu kufunafuna maphunziro muzakhala wotumidwa moyo wanu wonse. Ngati simuphunzira anthu azingokutumani, ajala kalime, ajala kuchwe manyazi, ajala katende yanti, ndipo anthu ophunzira wandu wotumanso kwambiri. Ndiye ngati simuphunzira, skulu akuyikirani apa mukhala otumidwa.